Okay, let's jump in. We are doing a deep dive today into something, well, something incredibly fundamental. The absolute requirements for the daily prayer, or sala, to be considered valid.
And we're using a really specific, really potent source for this. We're looking at the list from Safinat and Najah.
Ark of Salvation.
Exactly. And the thing to know about this text is that it's not a long philosophical book. It's more like a high-precision checklist. It boils everything down to the essentials.
So for our purposes, we're zooming in on its list of the 17 essential requirements, the arkan, or pillars of prayer.
Right. And just to be super clear, these aren't the recommended things or the nice-to-haves.
No, this is the absolute bedrock. If you miss one of these 17, the whole prayer is, it's structurally invalid. It just doesn't count.
It's the ultimate quality control. So our mission here is to break down this framework, not just to see the steps, but to understand why things like, say, stillness or the exact order of actions are so critical they're considered pillars.
Okay, let's get right to it then. The list kicks off with the first 4 pillars, the ones that basically launch you into the prayer.
And it starts with maybe the trickiest one, because it's completely internal. Pillar number 1 is anaya, the intention.
It's almost strange, isn't it, that the first pillar of such a physical act is something that happens entirely in your heart and mind.
I mean, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. The naya is what separates this act from just, doing some stretches.
Right.
You have to form the intention in your heart, specifically for the prayer you're about to perform. Is it du'ar? Is it ajr? That internal act is what validates all the physical stuff that comes next.
So if your heart hasn't set the intention, the other 16 pillars are built on nothing.
Precisely. The ship never leaves the harbor.
Okay. So once that internal engine is running, you hit the ignition switch, which is pillar number 2, takbiratul am.
This is the verbal part, saying Allahu Akbar.
The entry key.
It is. The name itself, iyam, comes from the idea of prohibition. The moment you say it, all the normal, worldly stuff talking, eating, it's all forbidden. You've entered a sacred state.
And from that state, you go straight to the first physical pillar. Number 3, qiyam, standing.
Yep, just standing. But it's specifically required for the obligatory prayers, assuming you're physically able to, of course. It's the posture of readiness.
Which leads right into a pillar of pure recitation. Number 4, reciting al-Fatiha.
And this one is huge. Everyone knows about it, but the text is very specific here.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying the words.
Right.
You have to recite it correctly with proper pronunciation. And this is key. You have to do it in every single rak'ah.
And a rak'ah is just one full cycle, right? The standing, bowing, prostrating.
Exactly. So in a 4 rak'ah prayer, you're reciting it 4 separate times.
Okay, so that's the setup. Intention, verbal start, standing, and recitation. Now we get into the real movement.
Yes, and this is where analytically it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you start to see a pattern, a word that just keeps showing up.
I noticed this. The word is tumaknina, stillness. It's listed as its own separate pillar multiple times.
4 times, in fact. And that repetition is deliberate. It's telling you that the pause is just as vital as the movement itself.
Let's walk through it. We're at the bowing phase now, pillars 5 through 8. So pillar 5 is the action, ruku.
Bowing down, yeah, until your hands can reach your knees. That's the movement.
But then, bam, pillar 6, tumaknina in ruku, a mandatory moment of stillness while you're in that bowed position.
You can't just dip down and come back up. You have to arrive, settle, and be still.
Then pillar 7 is rising from the ruku, coming back up to a standing position.
Okay, and this is where it gets really granular and so important. Because what's pillar 8?
It's tumaknina after rising, another moment of required stillness, but this time when you're standing fully upright again.
Exactly. And you have to ask, why are those 2 separate pillars? Isn't being still just?
Yeah.
What happens when you finish rising?
That's the thing. By listing it separately, the source is saying the movement of rising is one thing, but the act of being still is another pillar entirely. It's not passive. It's an active, required state of rest.
It's a non-negotiable pause. It stops the prayer from becoming a frantic, rushed series of motions. You have to stop, be present, and then continue.
And this exact same pattern shows up again in the next phase, right? The prostration. Pillars 9 through 12.
The exact same logic. Pillar 9 is sujud, the prostration itself.
And there are details here too, aren't there?
Oh yeah. The text specifies prostrating on 7 parts of the body. The forehead, both palms, both knees, and the toes of both feet. complete physical submission.
And then, just like before, pillar 10 is tumaknina in sujud. You have to be still in that position of prostration.
Then pillar 11 is sitting up briefly between the two prostrations.
You can't just go from one prostration straight into the next.
No, that sitting is its own pillar. And, you guessed it, pillar 12 is
Tumaknina in sitting. The fourth time stillness is listed as its own independent requirement.
So look at that. Out of 17 pillars, 4 of them, nearly a quarter of the entire structure, are just about being still.
That's a powerful message. It's basically saying that your prayer isn't valid if you don't build in these moments of total calm presence.
It's the framework forcing you to slow down and be conscious at every key juncture.
All right, so after all that movement and stillness, we move into the conclusion of the prayer. This is pillars 13 through 16.
Right, we shift back to recitation and posture. Pillar 13 is the final tashahhud.
Which is a specific and quite long recitation, isn't it?
It is a testimony of faith in a series of supplications, and reciting that text is pillar 13.
And pillar 14 is tied directly to it, the final sitting. You have to be sitting while you recite it.
The action and the recitation are locked together. One gives purpose to the other.
Then we have another verbal requirement inside that sitting, pillar 15, sending salat on the Prophet.
And here the guide gives us a really useful piece of information. It actually specifies the bare minimum you need to say for this pillar to be valid.
Which is
Allahumma alali ala Muhammad. If you say that, you've fulfilled the pillar. Anything more is extra, but that's the foundation.
okay. And that brings us to the very end. Pillar 16, the final taslim.
The exit. Saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's what formally ends the prayer and releases you from that sacred state.
So, there we have it, 16 pillars. We've got the intention, the recitations, the movements, the stillness. It feels complete, like a full blueprint.
It's a complete list of parts, yeah. But the machine doesn't work without the final and maybe most important instruction. Pillar 17.
Ah, right. This is the one that ties it all together.
It governs everything. Pillar 17 is the order of the arkan, the requirement to perform all the previous pillars in the correct sequence.
Wow. Okay, that's huge.
It is. It's not an action you do within the prayer. It's a rule about the prayer.
So you could, in theory, perform all 16 actions perfectly. You have the intention, you say all the right words, you do all the movements, you even nail all 4 moments of stillness.
But if you prostrate before you bow,
The whole thing is invalid.
the whole thing, according to this framework, the structure collapses.
Yeah.
The sequence is as much a pillar as the bowing itself.
It's like having all the right ingredients for a cake but mixing them in the wrong order. You don't get a cake.
That's a perfect analogy. The Savana Tanaja is saying the process, the sequence, is integral to the substance.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you do, but when you do it.
So we've walked through this whole list. It's this amazing balance of the internal, which is the intention, the verbal, with the key recitations, the physical movements, and these critical active moments of stillness.
And all of it is held together by that final binding requirement of order. The heart, the mouth, the body, and the timing all have to be in sync.
It's an incredible blueprint for an act of worship, really designed to make sure you're present and you're not just careless.
And that actually leaves us with a really interesting final thought for you to consider. The guide saves this pillar, the order of the arkan, for last. It's number 17, the final word on the list. What does that tell you about where the biggest risk is? It suggests that once you know all the individual parts, the greatest danger to the validity of your prayer is losing the sequence. So if the final emphasis is on order, what does that say about the value of structure and discipline in an act of submission? What spiritual weight is carried not just by the steps themselves, but by adhering to their precise, unchangeable sequence?